Folks, have you ever wondered what it would look like to be inside someone and see through their eyes? Well, you're experiencing that now. Yes, this is Soul Vision, if you will. So Soul Invictus has sent me a live recording here of him playing a battle with one of his Swaby armies, and he said that the setup was different than the last one. We showed this, it's been quite some weeks, I think, since I showed this on the channel, and so he wanted to show one that's a little bit different, but still micro-intensive and allow us to get a little bit of an insider picture into how these armies are controlled and how they're played in a battle live, with the idea that, you know, either you find this entertaining, or hopefully if you're trying to learn to play the game, that maybe this is useful for you to see how a player groups their units, how they work them together, deploy them, so on and so forth. So basically it kind of offers us a bit of a window into the mind of the player that is from a different perspective than a replay file where I am commentating from my third-person point of view. So this one's going to be another Swaby one, and I already like the looks of this army right off the bat. So it looks like that, is that Soap? This might be Hotel Soap who he's playing here. He sends us a lot of replays as well, if that is the same player. But in any case, it's an interesting army. We got Bloodsworn. There's some Wodenaz spears, some Kimbri bowwomen, and Germanic scout riders, and it looks like the general is in a noble rider. Again, they're going to be split into different wings here, and you'll notice that at least I say you'll notice. I notice here at the beginning that he is commanding the troops from a far overhead point of view. This is actually something that I prefer to do. Not every player likes to do the same, but I like this because it allows me to survey the battlefield all at once, and whenever I'm playing in campaigns, this is typically a view that I'm going to favor because it allows me to not only keep an eye on my own troops and to see whether I've left anything out, but allows me to see the movements of the enemy. And then as you move around, a mouse move will take you to a unit without having to shift the entire screen. So it looks like the enemy army out in front of him here is going to be reacting to his wing movements. It looks like there's some skirmish cavalry back and forth, and you can see, again, just how well a player has to be able to go back and forth across the battlefield. I don't try builds like this because this is difficult. It requires you to kind of trust yourself for long enough to make a move in one place, go make the next move, and to be able to cycle through them efficiently and in such a way that you don't make a mistake for a moment and end up getting your army slaughtered. Now, whenever I try to control something this way, that's inevitably how things end. I end up forgetting something, and then that results in my army being summarily slaughtered. But this is something that can be practiced, and I would say that practice against the AI is probably a great place to do this. Practice it in your campaigns and get an opportunity to work against them that way. Now, of course, an AI will react very differently than a player. It looks like the enemy army here has done the same now and split into two wings, and that's an interesting reaction. Obviously it runs the risk of Soul's middle force here being able to potentially run through the middle and support either one of these wing fights. Typically for the Swaby, though, you're not looking to get into an immediate melee. You're usually looking to cause some damage first and then get into a melee, because the Swaby units, They can get fast charge. I don't know if that's what our general has here. I'll have to wait till I see the general's unit card up, and then I can try and get a look. But if it is fast charge, then again, ideally you're hoping to maybe get a little bit of damage done, then get a fast charge in. But I mean, with fast charge in this case, you're not going to be able to cover multiple wings, so it's only going to be a small number of your units. So I think it makes sense that we're seeing kind of a prolonged skirmish phase here with the attempt to kind of gain an upper hand one way or the other. Ooh, some gutsy charges. See, like right there, we can see we're a little bit late to pull away from the oncoming charge of, I believe those are Tarantine cavalry. It looks like a medium skirmish cavalry that rolled in there. It wasn't a light one, or else it would have had a rounded bottom flag on it. So I believe that we were looking at the Tarantine cavalry. So Kimbri bowwomen still facing off against the Did I say Tarantine cavalry? Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. Those were armored Numidian cavalry, I believe, or some kind of Numidian skirmisher. It's a middleweight cavalry. I don't know why I was thinking Tarantino. I had Greek factions on the mind. I apologize. So we're going to continue to see the skirmish here. It looks like the left wing just kind of continues to fall back. And right now, Sol has kind of combined his middle and right wing and is pouring a lot of fire into those Desert Legionaries there I saw with the Cimbri Bowwomen just a moment ago. So it's interesting to see what it takes to control this. And this is tricky because the enemy player is putting a lot of pressure on him with these skirmisher cavalry. Now Sol not only has to worry about what's in front of him, he has to worry about what's behind him. So I think this is going to get tricky. Desert Legionaries are pretty decent units, and would certainly do well in like a fight where they're able to kind of grind it out. So if you can absorb the charge with a cheaper, and there's a fast charge. So remember that it takes fast charge a moment to kind of get fully activated. I believe it starts off with increasing speed, and then the second phase comes in, and you get like charge bonus, and then there's a third phase. So it's one of those things that you kind of need to get moving, and I like the reaction here by the Numidian player. I'm just going to say Numidian player, pulling back from that fast charge. However, Sol obviously was using his cavalry here to force the issue and try not to let them pull back, although I think that is the right initial reaction there as the opposing player to a Suebi fast charge. You want to fall back. We can see now that Sol is pulling his left wing back to protect the right wing, who does appear to have a solid engagement going over here on his right flank. And obviously the Numidians are wanting to come and try and get a quick, decisive engagement with that retreating left flank. So I would imagine we're going to see Sol try to delay any of their quick forces from initiating that fight and allowing his units to fall back and protect each other. And we can see that indeed the Numidians are kind of falling apart here on that right flank. We've got noble horse engagements going with the enemy cavalry. I see that skirmish cavalry swinging around in that direction, maybe hoping to support that fight. The enemy general just went down, so I would say at this point things are going very well for the Suebi. You've got the general dead, a lot of troops that aren't probably particularly well disciplined, and most of the Suebi units still surviving at this point. So I do believe that Sol has managed to get a pretty decisive edge here. Let's see how it continues on. So again, look at having to split the micros, split the attention, cavalry charging towards the skirmishers in the back, and then spears going to support. I like this. It's going to allow him to focus on other areas while those cavalry get busy trying to flee away. And you can see his general out there on the far right. He's going to control it now. He's just double checking on them. He didn't end up actually issuing an order, but they're finishing off cavalry units supported by infantry. And now that victorious right is able to move in and help finish the fight. And look at that left wing hasn't even had to engage yet. So again, a very solid looking position for Suebi. That left wing can come in and engage as needed now. Looks like the skirmish cavalry is still harassing them over there, and that makes a lot of sense. He does have a cavalry unit way out behind himself now. I only remember that because I am watching it from this point of view, but again, that's one of the things that can become challenging. We'll see. Yeah, it looks like he's retreating with some of his infantry, bringing in a fresh charge, and then he'll counter again. So despite the fact that having gained an edge, working hard to maintain that edge and finish the battle strong is what I believe we're seeing here. And that's definitely a good thing to keep in mind. As in, like with real-life sports, you don't want to end things early and accidentally blow the game. But it looks like that the battle's almost over, so I'm assuming that the Numidian player is about to surrender. So interesting to see that from his perspective. Hopefully you all enjoyed this, and I did it some justice. HeirofCarthage, signing out.